Welcome everybody to the Buck Custom Shop seminar. Is everybody having a good time?
Great time.
All right, glad to hear that. We're really honored and privileged, as I've said a few times today, to have in our presence Buck's first custom knife maker, Leroy Remer, and Buck's last custom knife maker, Wilde Bill Cody. And Wilde Bill, would you tell everybody how you came about your name?
Oh gosh. Well, back in the 50s, Dad wasn't allowed in the hospital, let alone the hospital room. So he was across the street drinking beer. His name was Henry, and he was trying to think of a cool name to get his son with. Well, he figured it was about time, so he comes back to the hospital, and the nurse catches him in the hallway and says, "Congratulations, Mr. Cody, you had a baby boy." He goes, "Oh, great. Have you decided on a name yet?" We go, "Oh yeah, write this down." "Are you sure?" "Oh yeah, we already talked about it." I said, "Well, okay." So wrote it down. He went into the hospital room. My mom goes, "Hey, we had a boy." "Oh yeah, I heard." He goes, "Have we figured out what name?" "Already taken care of." She goes, "What did you do?" And so after she found out that I got stuck with Wild Bill, she left strict instructions with the doctors and nurses not to listen to that crazy Irishman. And it was a good thing too, because my sister came that close to Annie Oakley Cody. That's cool.
All right, Buck Custom Shop was opened in 1980, and it was kind of born out of the loins of the repair shop. 1980, actually late 79, Mac McKinney, who was the lead man in the repair shop, approached Leroy Remer, and
He come up to me and he goes, "You want to be a custom knife maker?" I said, "Sure." He turned around and walked off. I said, "Okay." And during that time, getting close to summertime, he goes, talked to me, and we were painting machines. We were painting the Baders, and they were kind of a baby blue color. They wanted a brown. The brown looked like something that I won't say. And so we painted them brown, and then at the end of the year, we started over to the new shop in 80, and we started there. We were really doing customizing mostly. The custom shop and customer rework were together. And we started with this kind, where we were doing just customized handles. There were no mirror polished blades. We were walking out on the line and taking knives off the line. We were taking 119s, 120s, 102s, and 110s. We were just walking out and taking them. Now, I got called with Mac Jr. because anytime I wanted anything, I just went and got it. Well, Mac had a reputation of whatever he wanted, he took. So everywhere I went, I was Mac Jr. because I had a little clipboard and I'd walk around, "Hey, we need that." "You can't have it." Chuck Senior said so. I take it. That's how we did it. We started a custom shop, and we did a lot of customizing for really about a year. And then we started talking about 921s and 23s.
I'll pass this around, look at it closely, there may be a test.
And most of them were just line knives. Then we went into the custom version where we started out back to me, we sat down, we were drawing up knives, and Mac asked me about knives. We did a lot of Skinners. We did the 921, 23, the 25, and then we did the 933, 31, and 35. Then we did 901, the 905, and the 903. That was our biggest sellers. We didn't do a lot of daggers when we first started out. Our first knife that we ever made for somebody who sold was the cutlery Bowie, the 903. That was a brass one, and that was like this one in here on the bottom, but it had a brass strap on it. And no, the D-guard wasn't the first one. The first order we got was the 903, and that was the Bowie, and it was for cutlery. We did 100 of them. And then after that, we started getting orders for like the 921, 23, 25. But then we started out with, I'll let John talk about this.
Okay. I guess the best place to start would be Mac and Leroy took the knives that they made and went to a couple of shows. Now keep in mind, there's no other knife company in the world that I'm aware of that had a custom shop in it. So when the knives that they had laid out on the table were seen by a fellow from Blackjack Knives, He thought, no, these aren't custom knives. They were just made in the factory because they had square hollows, all right? Square hollow would come straight up and straight over. Leroy wanted to do a little something different so that he could prove to anybody looking at these knives that they weren't line knives.
Well, I have a little attitude. All the people who know me know that. So when we did them, the guy come up to the table and he's leaning over and he's getting in my face and I told him, hey, they're a custom-made knife. He goes, no, they're made on the lines. Well, that went on during the day. Mac pulled me back, and so it kind of mellowed out. But the next show we went to, I decided to change the hollow. This was the first hollow we did. This is a slight radius hollow, and that didn't look good to me. So I wanted to change it, and I went to this one.
If you look at the two knives, you'll see that this is just a little bit of a curve, where this one is a full radius.
And so I wanted something different to show people that we make custom knives. Instead of a square hollow, I went to radius. Well, I had to teach John Knapp and Dean Davis how to do it. So teaching them wasn't hard because we were all young and we could see. The older we get, you can't see. We're all blind. But it was a lot of fun, and this showed off buck knives, that this was a custom-made knife. It wasn't a line-made knife. It was made on production. We all made it individually by ourselves. And then we got into what we call our stamps, and I'll let John talk to you about that.
This is a 925, a heavy Skinner. We had talked about customizing the regular production knives. Leroy had talked about coming up with the 921, 23, 25, which were all Skinners. Then they did Hunters, and they were all given a number in the 900s because the 100 series was taken. There were 300 series folders, 500 series lockbacks, 700 series lockbacks. It's only natural to go to the 900s. We feel that's the reason why these knives were numbered in the 900s. Customer spec knives would be next. There were three categories of knives that were produced in the Buck Custom Shop. They were the customized production, like that 118 that's being passed around. There were the 900 series knives. We'll pass that around too. And look closely at these when they come around, because we are going to ask you a few questions. And then the third and final category were knives that were specifically made to customer specifications. They would send in drawings on grid works, tracings. This is one such knife. Ralph, don't you answer, because you're from Virginia and you knew the answer, but does anybody have any clue what that knife might have been made for? Close, but not that close.
It almost looks like a thresher.
It's a tobacco knife.
Yeah.
It looks like it's upside down. It looks like it ought to be that way. But they would hold the tobacco, cut it, and then hang it up. And this was made for a Tennessee tobacco farmer. We'll pass that around too.
That blade is made from a 903 buoy. The guy sent in a drawing, and I had a piece of steel sitting on the table ready for it. I had a 903 I was doing. I just laid it on it, turned the 903 upside down. That's what I used. So that's out of a Bowie knife blade. Just turned upside down. You'll notice on the 925 that you got in your hand, the pearl one, it's got a taper tang. I don't know if a lot of you know Loveless, Bob Loveless.
Hold on one minute. I'll hold that up so everybody can see that. If you look at the tang here, you can see as it goes down, it gets narrower. That's where the tapered tang comes in.
Bob Loveless is the one who taught me into tapering the tanks for the custom knives. He's an Henri Aucanton, this old guy. And if you've ever met him, you'll know. But he was one of the first custom knife makers in the United States.
All right, just to review real quickly, we had three categories of Buck Custom knives. There were the production, the 900 series, and then the customer spec knives. Now, to date those knives, and by dating this knife, we don't mean taking it out to dinner and going to a movie. We mean trying to figure out what year or era that it was made in. One of the ways we can do that is with the grind line. The square grinds were from 1980 to 1982. And then in 82, when Leroy started with the, not that one, but the little tiny one, that was only for about 6 months. So if you find a knife with a little radius like that, you've found a rare one, because they were only made for about 6 months. Then from 83, 84 on, they were the full radius hollow. So that'll help to date it a little bit. Then another thing is, who's got the, ma'am, look at that knife in your hand, the one with the pearl. Look in the guard. Do you see anything in the guard? Up underneath.
With the choke, with the finger notches.
You see the initials? There's 2 initials on that. Leroy and a couple of the other knife makers wanted to personalize these knives. Mac McKinney, the cantankerous old fella, was kind of a traditionalist. He thought these were buck knives and shouldn't have the initials of any makers on them. So he was a little bit resistant to it. Well, the brass is soft, so Leroy could get away with sneaking the initials in. And it graduated from that to putting pressure on Mac, and you finally won him over. And then on the other Skinner, you'll find it in the choil area. Now, those initials started, the ones in the brass guards, started in about 1982, and then on the choil area, started in about late 82, 83. So that'll help date the knife too. Then we have the serialization. Right up underneath the buck stamp, you would find the number of a 4-digit number serialized in there. 4-digit signified that it was made for a customer. A 3-digit serial number, it was made for a service employee service award, 5, 10, 15, 20 a year. Now, if the knife has a serial number, 9 chances out of 10, you might get a letter of authenticity with that. Now, if that's the case, it's easy, because that letter of authenticity will have the date on it along with the description. If, when you buy one of these knives, it doesn't have a letter, you can always call Joe Hauser up. He'd be glad to help you out, and he can look in his logbook and pinpoint the year that it was made and the handle material. The tang stamps were one other method of dating the knives. The very first tang stamps on the custom knives were simply marked Buck. Second one's Buck USA. And then in 1982, the stamp Buck Custom USA came along. There were 3 sizes. There was a small, a medium, and a large. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those stamps?
Well, we used the medium one the most. Well, when we first started, we didn't have any way to stamp them. The stamps were round. So I sat down and I figured out that we had to have a press for it. And the press was just 4 rod bars, plate on top, plate on the bottom, and auto jack in the middle. So I had a unit made up where it fit the die. I mean, the little stamp underneath it. Well, the first one I did, it was round, so I stamped it. The stamp was crooked. So I went over to tool and die department, flattened one side off, and we had an Allen wrench in it. Well, you'd slide it up in, you paint your knife blade blue, scribe around it, and you'd have a flat spot on one side. So you could lay a ruler up against it, and you could see where you were stamping. That way your stamps were all pretty straight. Well, when you stamped them, the daggers up on the display case stamped on both sides. Well, they wanted the daggers all to be stamped on both sides. Well, you'd be stamping, you'd be pulling down the handle on it. You get one side good, you pull down the other side, it's not hard. You pull one more time, the blade will break right down. Or you crack it out. So all the daggers now are only stamped on one side because you got too much pressure on both sides of it. The medium stamp was used the most because the large stamp we only used on the D-guard buoy. That was basic, and the mountain, and really the 920, 903. So we only use it on the big knives, and unless a custom order came in, then we use it on a bigger knife. But we use the medium one a lot. The small one, we only use every once in a while on a couple of small knives, pocket knives. Not very many of them.
The 300 series slip joints, very, very few of them had the Buck Custom stamp. Most of them just had the regular standard stamp. I've only seen 2 in my collecting years. I've got one of them, little stag-handled companion. Very few of the 110s were ever marked with the initials of the makers. However, on the lock bar on the back and up underneath at the pivot area. And they were for a series of Frontiersman Unlimited.
They were 154, they were 110 with black gold ebony handle with 4 nickel silver heavy rivets. That was it. And they were stamped 154 and then our initial. And we didn't do a lot of them. We did some 110 custom Damascus, but we didn't do a lot of small knives with the small stamp. Mostly the medium stamp got used.
And there are a few customs out there with no stamp at all.
Yeah, no stamp.
They're very, very early.
Then there's some, our very earliest ones were engraved on. It just said Buck on it. I have my very first one stamped. I won't show that to you.
Now, the custom shop opened in 1980. Wilde Bill joined the custom shop in 1992. The custom shop closed in 1993.
Yeah.
We have no proof that the reason it closed was because of Wilde Bill Cody. Rumor abounds, but we have no proof. Can you tell us a little bit about your duties there in the beginning and what's going on now?
Well, what they did was they closed the shop down in December of '93, and they said there was going to be one opening. So the other 3 guys figured if they stuck together that Buck would have to keep them. So they didn't apply for the job. And I was the only one that applied, so I won through default. Ended up in a custom shop, and they called it, they said there's not going to be any custom, you're just going to be modifying handles on existing knives. Customizing. You're not going to have to do custom. The second day on the job, they brought me a blank. They said, here you go, hollow grind this and make it into a knife. We have to have it for a meeting in 2 hours. I said, whoa, wait a minute, that's custom work. So I had to call Leroy. I said, Leroy, walk me through this. What kind of wheel do I use? What kind of belts? So he walked me through it on the phone, and I did the best I could and rounded it out. And they said, okay. And I had to learn the hard way and go from there. Any questions I had, I went outside the company. But I started doing the custom stuff, and then the next thing I know, I'm doing service awards for the employees, because after 15 years, and every 5 years after that, you get a custom knife. So I'd have to make it from scratch. And then that's part of my duties, and the other part is I design and make prototypes for the limited edition and special projects department. So I'll come up with ideas, make them, and then show them to them, and I'll bring them up here. Like my boss told me, he goes, once we have the knife in our hand, we can make it. But to come up with the concept in the first place, that's why we need you. So that's why I'm still down there by myself. And they have a special projects department, like 10 people or so. And that's the cream of the crop. And what they do is I'll make the prototypes, and then they'll make the limited edition of 250 or 1,000 or whatever. And that's pretty much my job, And then I come up here once in a while and help them out if they need any help figuring out how to do stuff. Yeah.
You do, and you're world famous now for your inlay work. You could tell everybody how you do that raised inlay.
I was a little bit of a wise guy. That's a good name for it, raised inlay. I take an elk antler and I'll take a picture that I want, glue it on the top of it, drill a small hole, and then I'll cut at a slight angle like a reverse cork. Cut my pattern out, drop the piece out of the middle of the elk. Then I'll sand it, carve it, burn it with a torch, do whatever I'm doing to it, and then glue it back in. Since some of the material was removed with the saw blade, when you push it in, it goes up a little bit higher. And the beauty of that is, when you take it to a custom show, they sit there and they look at it and they go, well, it's not carved in because it's sticking up. So how'd you get that on there? I said, well, it's not on there, it's raised. And that just confuses the heck out of all the custom guys.
You fill the back end with epoxy?
I fill the back end with epoxy because it does raise up slightly. And it's not going to go anywhere because it's wedged in. There's no way it can fall out because the bottom's wider than the top. And I started doing it with deer heads and elk heads with all the antlers and stuff where they just tycoed them and buffed them up white. So you had a white elk head in the brown elk horn, which really popped out. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking them to the next step, which is cutting it out, polishing it up, and now doing a little carving on it, doing a little burning with a torch. Now I'm not using bear claws and eagle feathers. But to this day, when you can take that to a custom show, they all can't figure out how you did it. And just you go, no, it's not carved in. How'd you get it on there?
When are these going to be available?
Well, the bear claw, not yet. The eagle feather, maybe next year.
In the catalog?
It'll be Cody Customs. I did a couple of folders with the eagle feather, and then I did a 903 Bowie with the full eagle.
That's going to be pretty.
They're going to be pretty. Did you see it?
I did. Pretty sure I saw that. Leroy, can you tell us what kind of handle materials you started that with in the custom shop?
We started out with ironwood, a lot of mesquite, deer horn. Then a little bit down the road, then we got into ivory. We got into a lot of ivory. Vern Taylor got it from Chicken Creek, Alaska, strip mining company. And that stuff, it stinks. It's got a bad odor. I used to have to go home. My wife made me go outside, take my clothes off, put new clothes on, come in the house. That's how bad it was. But we did a lot of ivory, a lot of nice and ivory. Then we got into sandbar stay, mother of pearl, basically a little bit of everything then. Because more stuff was coming on the market and we were trying. The biggest thing we sold a lot of was mastodon ivory. Sandbar stag, we sold a lot of that too, but more mastodon. If you look up on the display up there, you'll see a lot of the ivory, the sandbar stag. Older ones have a lot of wood on them.
Can you tell us now a little bit about the shop itself? What it was equipped with in the beginning?
Well, at the beginning, all we had was a baler and a drill press. And we started out, Matt come out to me and hand me a piece of steel 12 inches wide, 12 inches long, and said, make a knife out of it. So I have to drill holes all the way down the side of it, break it off, then drill holes around it, break each piece off, and sit down at the grinder and grind it all off. Then that would shape it. We do that to every one of them. Then a little more down the road, we got a bandsaw. And, we had them punched out for a while, the 923 series. We had a die made and had them punched out. And that wasn't feasible for us because we weren't making that many of them. They had to make 30,000 at the time. We weren't making 30,000. We were making around 200, 100, whatever customers wanted.
Does anybody have any questions that we could interject now?
When you talk about the service gears for the custom shop, is there a marking on there, like was there a designation on there, 5, 10, 15, or 5, 10, 15?
Most of the service award knives, the blades had the gold etching on it with a little banner, and it would have buck knives on it, and it would say 5-year service award, 10-year service award. The key to it, though, because they don't all have the gold edge, the serial number would be 3-digit. On a custom knife that was made for a customer, always 4-digit. It could be 0001, 0002, but it was always 4-digit. 3 for the service award. That'll give it away more than anything. A lot of guys will buy a service award knife from somebody, send the knife to Wilde, Bill, or Leroy, and have them take that gold etching off. But the telltale sign is that it's 3-digit.
Right.
Anybody else? Any questions? Hey, Georgia, what do you want to know, girl? Oh, okay. Leroy, tell us about the cell.
The cell?
Cell block.
Oh. Well, we were in a little room in customer service, and custom shop was together. They decided, well, the employees out on the shop decided that we weren't doing nothing. So they stuck us out in the shop, out in the middle of 01, built about a 9-foot cage around us, all chain link, with a door in it. So I got a little smart and decided to put a sign up that said cell block 33. Well, it was close to Halloween, so we all dressed up in black and white uniforms and went to work. So they closed the door on us, lock it. So once you close the door, lock it. I had the keys on. I had to hand the key out. Hey, let us out, will you? Oh no, you're in jail today. So that went on all day long with this. That's how we got it called cell block 33.
Any questions, anybody? Throw some up here. This is a rare opportunity to talk to these two guys.
What are some of the new materials you guys are working with as far as for scales? Anything new that you're trying that we haven't seen? Well, with our bill?
You would have to talk to Bill because Bill's sneaky.
Well,
He comes to I'll call him up and I'll tell him, hey, I got some new material. I'll take it over to him, show it to him. I don't get no more back home. He's already got it done calling. Hey, come look at this. I turn around and go back. Hey, that ain't right. I'm supposed to be doing that before you.
in one of the catalogs, he found some guitars thread that they decorate the guitars with, and mother of pearl dots that they use on the frets and stuff. So I made a guitar series knives, and those were doing pretty good right now. And so he gave me the strap, and all of a sudden I made a fretted guitar. It's going crazy out there.
This one's got BG42 steel in it. You get to select the steel, or you just have to take whatever it does.
Depends on who you are.
Huh? I guess.
But seriously, what they, I forgot where I was now. But we're using woolly mammoth tooth, mastodon ivory,
Camel bone.
camel bone. We've got right now they've got some wood from Vietnam, from the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
What's the specimen?
It's hang sudo or something. That's
Okay.
okay.
Hang Sue, what did she do wrong?
Anyway, it's what that's yeah.
What are the properties of the camel bone that makes
Well, it's just like giraffe bone,
okay,
It looks just like it. I can't tell the
which
difference.
is a white bone. It's very dense. The camel bone is a little smaller, but it's about half the cost.
It looks more like ivory.
And they dye it different colors, just like they do the giraffe bone, so that you can't tell the difference except one's $60 and one's $25.
That Bernie's feather knife, it just went around as designer's choice.
Yeah, that was the type of blade from a long time ago. It was a leftover blade.
The steel that was used in the custom shop when it was open from 80 to 93 was 440C for most of the time. 425M came in in what time frame? Do you recall?
It's hard to say. I can't remember really.
Okay. The 425M though, if you have a mirror polished blade and it's got a few pits in it, it's because you'll know then that it was 425. 425 was a trashy steel, had a lot of bad stuff in it, and these guys worked and worked and worked on it, and you could polish it and polish it and polish it and still have that little bit of trash in there. So if you get a buck custom knife and it's got a pit in it, 9 chances out of 10 it's 425 modified.
If you've got one that's really, really shiny, it's either D2 or 440C. Because D2 mirror polish is really good. You can see yourself in it. And 440C has a little cloudy effect to it, but it's really pretty still. And all the custom knives, when I started in there, were all mirror polished. Every custom knife we made had a mirror polish. And this guy right here loves to mirror polish.
So does Leroy.
Well, the problem is now they got all these different types of steel, and they're trying to make us mirror polish S30V. And this stuff is not mirror polish. It's just a haze. There's just no way you can get a high shine on it.
Can you walk everybody through the stages of mirror polishing a blade for us?
Well, when we first started it, we 60 grit it and sent it to Paul Boss to heat treat, so he wouldn't warm them. And so we left them thick. They'd come back, we'd 60 them again, we'd 120, 220, 300, 400, 400 with a comp. Then you go to hard buffing. And it's like 4 buffing wheels together, and you take out about the first 3 inches of the stitching. That would give a little flexibility. You'd use a green compound on it, put a big old belly pad on, so if you hung it up, you didn't stab yourself. And you just start buffing on it. And it didn't take long to buff. It'd take you about 30 minutes to buff the blade out completely. Your 925 that John's got there is a mirror polished blade. So you want to be able to see your face in it. And everything we did was mirror polished. And that was just Buck's trade too. Everything we mirror polished was Buck. You know, the custom shop had everything mirror polished. The customer would send it in, they talk him for mirror polished, I'd talk him out of it. I didn't like the mirror polished. Because I'd average about 300 knives a year to 350, and then if you got 110s, you'd have to mirror polish, 112. So you're polishing all day long, really. Standing at the sheet buffing. You know, and that was just something all of us didn't like to do. Bill, he loves mirror polishing. It's a little joke between us.
Yeah.
Any questions, anybody?
Why mirror seed moose? Moose? Anybody want that?
Moose wasn't popular back when the shop was open. I've got a few that Leroy has customized for me since then with moose, and it's a great looking handle material.
They're real dense. They don't have a lot of arrow in them, like you do Sandbar Stag or elk. So it's a really good horn material. It's really good horn to use for rifles. Bill's made a couple.
Yeah, but right now it's difficult to find a supplier. I never heard
Stellar Sea Cow makes a wonderful handle material too. That's, how would you describe it? It's almost like a sandy looking bone.
Well, what it is, manatees, now Florida, it's its great ancestors. They were killed off in 1817. And it's the rib bone. So when you buff it up, it looks like kind of a wood grain to it, a brown, darkish wood grain. It's real pretty, it's real dense. It's really nice material to work with.
Where are they finding this?
Up in Alaska.
Just digging it up?
No, it's up on the shores. A lot of the guys that I know live up there. They walk along the beach and find it. And if it looks like a rib bone, it's up there. And now a lot of the vendors are coming up with it, so the price went up outrageously.
If you go to the Blade Show and go to a knife maker supply, they usually have a pretty good supply of Stellar
The first
Sea
time
Cow.
they got one on the West Coast, and I can go through Portland in September.
You'll find some up there.
If you go to the Eugene show, you'll see it.
That's a little bit far.
Well, you won't see a lot of it at the Portland show. I do the show and you don't see it. You don't see a lot of vendors because that's a gun show.
Oh, is it? I thought it was strictly a Blade Show.
Unless you go to Blade Show over in
Blade Show
September.
West.
with
Yeah,
Buzz.
that's right. Blade Show
That'll be
West.
up this
September
year.
14th, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Right around in that time anyway.
But a lot of vendors don't go to that.
It's just too new.
No, it's just they go to the large show.
The Blade Show West is having some growing pains, and they're
Keep
trying
moving.
to build it up.
Keep moving it. And the last time I went, it was at a hotel that you could see, but it was difficult to get to because of the construction. So they were just having some bad luck.
Well, over to Yakima, we'll treat you
Well, listen, folks, if y'all don't have any questions, we're going to head you up, move you out. If you'll come on up, I've got some printouts for you. The last one's on the right, you need to take 3 copies of, because it's actually 3 separate sheets, and they are in succession, and they will, or they should be anyway.
Sorry about that.
They'll cover just about everything we've discussed up here. And we thank you for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the event.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.